Alright, so I don't know if y'all have seen the video. I'll try to put the link up here for it, but my little Cadet 75 was leaking. At first I thought it was oil, but it turns out I believe it's gas from the carburetor when it's running, but it doesn't leak the rest of the time. So I've been researching, trying to find rebuild kits and all, and the other day, or yesterday rather, I took it apart. This is the choke shaft, this is the throttle, and the choke is a little bit loose, but it doesn't wobble much. The throttle sort of does a little bit, and like I said, it only leaks when it's running, so it's not any problem here. I've taken the bowl off. Got to figure out how to get this out. I think I've got some seals in my throttle shaft that are leaking. I did, when I pulled it out, did get a little bit of a gas right around here, so I guess I'm going to be figuring out how to get that apart. Alright, so the cap here on this end of the carb, I reached in and wrapped a rag around a long Phillips screwdriver and reached in and popped it out. Then I was able to get to my choke screws from a choke plate on the choke shaft, pull the plate out, shaft slid right out. Then I drifted a pin out of my throttle stop, I think is what this would be called. Yeah, throttle stop on the throttle shaft. It also, and then got the screw out of the throttle plate so I could pull it out of the throttle shaft, which is right here, and got it out. And there are, in this here, this side, there are bushings in there. I don't know if those are parts I can still get, but I think that's where my fuel was leaking through. Like I said, it only leaked when it was running, so it wasn't leaking out of the bowl. Got the throttle carburetor upside down here. It wasn't leaking out of the bowl down here. It had to have been leaking here. And when I took it off, I did get some gas, just a little bit of gas coming out there. So I'm gonna see if I can find those parts, if there's something I can get, or if I'm gonna end up putting a $30 cheap Chinese knockoff on this mower. Of the ones I've seen, that screw there that comes through the air cleaner and holds it to the carburetor. Maybe this one back here too, which screws in right there. I might have to retap them on the other car because they'll be metric instead of standard, but I think that's something I'll be able to do. But I feel like I can probably find those bushings. The only extra aggravating step was this little hole right here next to the choke shaft. Had a pin in it for the stop on the, excuse me, I said choke, I meant the throttle. No, it was the one on the choke. Yep. Had a pin in it to stop the choke shaft spring hooked to spring it back, and I had to drift it out. It held the venturi, well, it didn't hold it tight, but captured the venturi in there where it wouldn't come out. So I had to get that out, and I couldn't get the pull out, so I had to drift it in. But I got it, so it's apart. All right, so I've been researching. I thought maybe just replacing the bushings for the throttle shaft But by the time I buy those, and nothing looks terribly worn out, but it is a little weak loose feeling rather. So by the time I buy those and get them shipped, I'll have about as much money in this original as a admittedly cheap Chinese one for a new one. But the reviews I'm reading on those say that, except for having to retap the holes in the Chinese carburetors for standard threads to match the screws that hold the air cleaner in place, they work. So I know I'm gonna put this one back together and hang on to it, because it seems to me to be the original carburetor, and whatever is wrong with it is not much. So I'm gonna put it back together, and I'm gonna get one of those Chinese carburetors. I don't really like it. You can still buy Briggs is still selling this carburetor. The problem with that is they want, depending on where I've looked, between $175 and $200 for it. And I don't have that much in the mower. So I finally did date it. It's a September 73 engine. So I'm guessing 73, maybe 74 for the mower itself. But so we're gonna be putting a Chinese carburetor on here. We'll get back to the video when it gets here and put it on, see how it works. Alright, so got the new carburetor. It is absolutely Chinese. This one hand, it's the longest flap I've ever seen on a cardboard box. It came packaged, I guess, in bubble wrap. But it's at least as close to being the same thing as anything I've seen. Slight little differences. This vent or return or whatever it is here, a little bit different on the old one, but it looks really good. I do think I've been told that the holes for the mounting screws from the air filter, this one is blind or closed in the air filter. This one at the bottom here, I've been told they'll be metric and I'll need to retap those, but I'll work on that next. Get everything ready, see if we can get it put on. So at least on this carb, they're not metric, or these screws are already metric. They thread right in. And they feel just like they do on the old carb. So I guess we're ready to put this thing on. And the new one came with gaskets. I guess these would technically be intake gaskets, and they're pretty thin, but two came in the pack. The one that came off is pretty heavy, so I guess I'll put both of those back on. Alright, so one thing I did forget to mention, I know why Briggs put slots in these mounting screws, because I at least do not have a socket thin enough to reach on there and grab those, and the only way I could get them on was with a screwdriver, and they're cross cut, but they're flat cuts, so Phillips doesn't grab hold of them very well. I had to use a flathead. You can get a wrench on them enough to tighten them up at the end, but if you had to pull the whole thing off that little piece of a turn at a time, it would probably make you crazy. I did also have to put my fuel shutoff valve on here from the old one. I forgot to mention that earlier, but it threaded right in and tightened up at about the right spot. Alright, so we got everything hooked up. We got throttle moving, and get it there in the choke position. The choke cuts off, or cuts on rather, back out. Back the throttle down. Throttle is real sensitive. It doesn't take much movement up here to get it from idle to wide open, but I think that's the tractor, not the carburetor. So there it is. I'll get some gas in it, make sure it's not leaking, and then get it out here and see how it runs, if I need to do anything. All right, so put a little bit of gas in it. Got everything all back together. Cut my fuel on and have waited. I don't have any leaks. So let's see if she fires up. All right, so out of gear. Well, there you go. I'm just gonna drive around, but I have a front tire that's busted. I don't want to eat up a tube with sand and grit, so I guess that's our next project. There's always another one coming though. So there she is. She is running. She a little slow to crank, but probably have some idle adjustment to do on the carburetor. She seems to be idling a little fast to me, but there it is. Thanks for watching, y'all. Be sure have a comment, let me know, like, comment, subscribe. Got her good and warm. Don't have any of that stuff piling up down there like I did. I think I've got it. I kept the old carburetor though. It's on the shelf in a box. One day I'll get it rebuilt. See you next time, guys.